All right, here's another example how we can rewrite the equation from standard form to vertex form, which is y equals to a times x minus a squared plus k. So we are going to need to complete the square just like I did in the previous video. All right, so let's first look at our standard form. And from that, as I mentioned before, we can easily see our y-intercept. Now, if you know what the y-intercept, before I tell you, think what that was. So recall that a y-intercept is whenever x is 0. So the advantage of standard form is we can see the y-intercept, and that is our constant. Because if x is 0, this will become 0 and we will be left with 7. So our y-intercept is 0, 7. We're going to remember this so that once we have it in vertex form, we can check to see if we get the same y-intercept. All right, so I'm going to rewrite the equation here below as y equals to 2x squared plus 8x plus 7. Now notice in this case our a value is 2. Now, our a value is 2 here, our b value is 8, and our constant, our c value is 7. Now, before we complete the square, our a value must be 1. So let's go ahead and first bring our constant to the other side of the equation. So I'm going to subtract 7 on both sides. Rewriting that, we get y minus 7 equals to 2x squared plus 8x. Before I complete the square, it's really important, and I highlighted here, to complete the square, make sure the a value is 1. Well, right now our a value is 2. So what we can do is we can factor out this 2 from this binomial. So doing that, we would have x squared plus 4x. We can check 2 times x squared is 2x squared and 2 times 4x is 8x. All right, so this is where you need to be very careful. All right, we are going to complete the square only for the binomial on the inside. We're going to ignore the coefficient of 2 on the outside for now. So I'm going to rewrite this with a space. So we will be adding a number here on the left, and we will be adding a number inside here on the right. Okay, so our next step is to complete the square, and we have factored out the 2. So I'm going to go ahead and only look at my binomial inside the parentheses. What is half of 4? Because we always take half of b to complete the square. What is half of 4? In other words, 4 over 2. What is half of 4? And then I'm going to square that. So half of 4 is 2, and 2 squared is 4. So I'm going to add 4 to the right. Now this is where you need to be careful. We added 4 on the inside of this parentheses, but what we actually have added, if you look on the outside, I have a 2, and 2 times 4 is 8. So we actually added 8 to this whole right side. So this is where you need to be careful. So on the left, I must add 8 as well. Or if you prefer, you can write it as 2 times 4. Once we have done that, then we can simplify everything. So negative 7 plus 8 is just 1. So we are left with y plus 1 is 2 times. And if you recall, how do we have, when we completed the square, we have 2 numbers that give us 4 that add up to 4, which is 2 and 2. And if you remember from the last video, that will match half of our b. So I can go ahead and already factor this and write it as x plus 2 times x plus 2. Well, this creates 2 identical binomials, which I can rewrite as a binomial squared. So that is 2 times x plus 2 squared. And now what is left to do is to just bring the 1 to the other side, and that would mean we would subtract 1 on both sides. So therefore, our equation in vertex form, 2 times x plus 2 squared minus 1. Now let's go ahead and check to see that we get a y-intercept of 7 if we plug in 0. So if I plug in 0 here, I would have 0 plus 2, which is 2. And go ahead and do that. And square that, subtract 1. That would be 2 times 2 squared minus 1, which is 2 times 4 minus 1. Using order of operations, that would indeed give us 7. So our y-intercept is 7. So it looks like our equation matches. Now let's go ahead and write the key characteristics of our vertex form. The vertex, if you said it is -2, -1, you are correct. That means the graph shifts 2 to the left, 1 down. 2 left, 1 down. Our axis of symmetry is always the first value of our vertex, or the x value of the vertex. So that is the line of x equals -2. Make sure you write it as an equation. Our y-intercept, we said, was 0, 7. Our domain. So let's go ahead and make a quick sketch. I'm going to put the vertex down first. So at -2, -1, we have a point. We also have our axis of symmetry, which is the line of x equals -2. That is our axis of symmetry right there. We have a y-intercept at 0, 7, so I could put that point here. And then I will equally do a point on the same distance to the left. Remember, this is a sketch, so it is approximately where the graph is, not exactly where the intercepts are. But as a quick sketch, we have that the vertex is -2, -1. The axis of symmetry is x equals to -2. Our y-intercept is at 0, 7. Our equation in vertex form, where we could see the vertex, and our standard form, which we switched, matches our y-intercept, 0, 7.